who had woken up that.
Alright, hold on. This is SpongeBob deepest episodes. Now listen, I seen this. I said I gotta watch it because SpongeBob is my favorite show. And one thing I also did love as a kid is um when the kid shows went deep sometimes. So as a kid, I didn't catch on to it, but now as an adult, I may catch on. So I
These
low
are
key.
three of SpongeBob's deepest episodes. Watch till the end if you want to see just how far a kid's show can go. The first episode starts with SpongeBob, who had woken up that morning as he usually did, but this was no usual morning. Something strange had happened the night before, though we did not know what yet. But whatever happened somehow did not affect SpongeBob. It did, however, affect everyone else.
I
At
think I
first,
remember this
SpongeBob didn't
episode.
notice that something was wrong. In fact, he went through his daily routine as usual, having even worked a full day at the Krusty Krab. But as he got home that evening, he noticed that Gary hadn't touched his food. And soon after, he discovered that Gary wasn't home. Then he checked
I
to find
remember this
Squidward
episode.
and
I ain't gonna
Patrick,
lie. Yeah, yeah.
but no one was home. He ran around panicking all over Bikini Bottom in hopes of finding any sign of life. But nothing. The town was empty and he was all alone. But why wasn't SpongeBob gone? Rather than searching for answers, SpongeBob's first instinct was to distract himself by living out everyone's life for them. Basically, to pretend he wasn't alone. A mistake which would take him down a dark road. The next day, he did just that. But after a while,
Damn.
reality started to hit him. Pretending wasn't enough to distract him, for he knew that something bad had happened. He didn't know what it was or if his friends were hurt, but once again, instead of facing reality, SpongeBob ignored it and stole a boat and took it for a joyride instead, which he eventually crashed into his house. When he woke up the following day, the boat was now sleeping on his bed, which was weird, because that's not where it crashed the night before. I don't believe that this actually happened. I believe this was all a figment of his imagination, which, as we'll see soon, was only the start of it. Now, having no job to do and nobody to see, SpongeBob spent the day becoming friends with this boat. Again, by no means was the boat alive, but this was the closest SpongeBob was gonna get. The boat and SpongeBob became quite close. SpongeBob had even began hearing voices coming from it. These delusions only got worse from here. When he got home that evening, SpongeBob talked about how the boat was the only thing keeping him sane. But the boat, or in this case, part of his subconscious, said something completely unrelated. Something about a Patrick puppet built from Krabby Patty meat, which sounds really crazy. So it was no surprise SpongeBob just brushed it off. But the boat wasn't talking nonsense. SpongeBob had secretly built his puppet, which he hid in his closet. SpongeBob was so lonely, a fact which he didn't want to admit, that he resorted to this just for some sort of connection. But the puppet said something even weirder. It warned him that the boat wasn't what it seemed, and that it was not his friend. What made this even crazier was that Puppet Patrick seemed to be right. The boat was acting a bit weird now. This paranoid SpongeBob, leaving him with no choice but to hide in his own home for days, until eventually he ran into the boat again. Immediately he ran out screaming, but wherever he went, the boat somehow found its way there. After running for a while, he found an axe, which he was ready to use to destroy the boat, which he still believed to be alive. But before he could, a bus pulled into Bikini Bottom filled with every single person who had gone missing. Where'd they gone? They had all left to take a break from SpongeBob. They called it National No SpongeBob Day. SpongeBob was naturally shocked, but he didn't even get angry. He was actually happy that they made a day dedicated to him, ignoring not only what they put him through, but what they were actually doing during No SpongeBob Day. The episode ended with the town leaving again, this time for National No Patrick Day, leaving Patrick behind to start the whole cycle over. I put this episode on the list because it did a good job at showing how flawed SpongeBob is as a character. He is so desperate for connection that the very loss of it drove him insane. But this isn't just relevant to SpongeBob. Humans are all social creatures, and having that suddenly stripped away from you could very well lead to a complete loss of character. The next episode on the list is Squidville.
That shows you, like, honestly, when you're alone, how much that can do to your mental, bro. And that really now shows, like, when someone lose someone or lose their family or things like that. Dang. And one thing with me, I always been alone, so I'm cool with that, with being alone. But like, I have family. You know what I'm saying? I got a couple friends. You know what I'm saying? I'm not finna say so like I have nobody. You know what I'm saying? Like SpongeBob, but like I have somebody. You know what I'm saying? I can lean on or go to. But it's like, damn. Like in that situation scenario, it's like, fuck, bro. Cause like niggas, they was alone. He was there going through it, bro. Had nowhere to talk to, had no one to have fun with, had nobody. You know what I'm saying? That he got like a materialistic object people phone, gaming, anything like that. You know what I'm saying? And when they see it hurting them, it's hurting them. It's not really affecting them in a positive way. It's like now in that situation, now it's like you gotta stay away from it. You gotta stay away from it, and it's like I don't want to, but you got to, bro. Anytime you get back onto it or get back to a habit with it or something, like it can spook you a little bit because you know you're not supposed to be doing it. Or
SpongeBob and Patrick, who were outside playing with their new reef blowers.
I remember this one. I remember this one. I remember this one.
Time found its way to Squidward, or in this case, to his house, which was accidentally damaged. It eventually fully destroyed after Squidward yelled at them to fix it. This snapped something inside Squidward. He didn't yell at them. Instead, he accepted defeat. But this was the last time he'd tolerate it, because for once, he was going to do something about it, which more or less involved him getting as far away from SpongeBob and Patrick as he could. As he made up his mind, his TV fell from the sky and played an ad for a secluded, gated community called Tentacle Acres.
I remember this episode.
All that made his life miserable. A belief which, as we'll find out, was not true at all. Having nowhere else to go, he went over that same day. After answering a few questions, the gates of Tentacle Acres welcomed him inside. Now you're probably thinking, why is this episode called Squidville when the place is called Tentacle Acres? Well, this place was entirely populated by squids, which not only looked exactly like Squidward, but did the same things he did. Finally, he had found his real home. He had found his people. He immediately fell in love with Tentacle Acres. After his first night there, he woke up having already forgotten his old life.
Hey, what are you doing? As I'm looking at you, looking at me, looking at me, looking at you, look at me, look at me, look at you, look at me. What the fuck is you doing? You still haven't hit that like button, comment, and subscribe? What the fuck is you doing right now? Get to it right now. Stop staring at me. You better like it right now. Yeah, like that button, Lord, no. Stupid ass, no. And subscribe. It's right there. Might as well do it for the free ski. People always want anything for free. This for free. Do it. And comment. Might as well say hi. Something. Bye. Back to the video.
He went shopping, he rode his bike, he danced, he played his clarinet, all with the rest of the community. And best of all, not a sponge or starfish in sight. He could live like this for eternity. But if you're expecting that, you'd be wrong. He enjoyed his first day there, and nothing ever changed from it. You could say he lived that same day over and over and over again. As I said, nothing at all changed, except for one thing. As the days went on, his smile slowly faded. But by God, why? What else could he ask for? He had everything he'd ever dreamed of having. Squidward asked himself this question. He clearly started to hate his new life at Tentacle Acres, and he soon found out why. He knew this place was the very definition of Squidward's paradise, but it was also too much paradise. There was no change. There was nothing to look forward to.
No, you know what I'm saying? Never get too comfortable, because once you get too comfortable, it can face you, bro.
Anymore. Once the opportunity presented itself, Squidward crept around the reef blower and played with it. As squids do, they mocked him. His own people mocked him. SpongeBob and Patrick never did that, but he didn't let mockery stop him. In fact, he doubled down. He went all around Tentacle Acres with the reef blower. Meanwhile, SpongeBob and Patrick showed up at the front gate, hoping to bring Squidward home. Behind the gate, Squidward continued having fun, which annoyed all the other squids in the process, eventually turning them all against him. After they cornered him, they gave him a letter of complaint, which once again made something in Squidward snap. He finally understood that these weren't his people at all. Sure, they looked like him, they basically were him, but they didn't like him at all. These were his people. These people actually liked him. And so Squidward, who had now gone a bit too far, used his reef blower to fly out of that prison as he laughed manically. A prison which, at the start, he so much enjoyed. Tentacle Acres was built for Squidward. More importantly, this place was supposed to prove that SpongeBob and Patrick were what was wrong with his life. But it didn't. His new life in Squidville showed us that this was the furthest thing from the truth. In fact, it showed that he himself and everyone like him was the problem. What's more is that playing his clarinet or riding his bike was no longer something he could look forward to, because he could have it whenever he wanted. He took away the process of earning pleasure, and therefore, he lost it. Now let's move on to what I consider to be the deepest SpongeBob episode. It was another beautiful day in Bikini Bottom. Squidward took his opportunity to relax. He pulled out a lawn chair and a piece of gum, whose wrapper he threw on SpongeBob's lawn. Something which, for some reason, really stunned SpongeBob. SpongeBob immediately picked it up and tried returning it. SpongeBob wasn't shocked.
I don't think I recorded this episode.
Littered. He was shocked that he'd throw away something this valuable. There was nothing special about the wrapper, by the way. What made it so important was that SpongeBob didn't see a simple wrapper. He saw a treasure trove of entertainment. Squidward let him have it just to get rid of him, but SpongeBob kept asking him if he wanted it back. Eventually, Squidward told him to not only keep the paper, but to never give it back to him under any circumstance, to further get him off his back, words which he'd later eat. You see, like most of us, Squidward saw the paper for what it was on the outside, a piece of paper. Since he couldn't relax outside, Squidward decided to play his clarinet instead. But knowing Squidward, something was bound to happen, and that something was a very familiar noise from outside. Squidward angrily looked to see what all the commotion was. SpongeBob was playing, doing all sorts of things with the paper, and after a while, Squidward found himself spying on SpongeBob, mocking him while doing so. But SpongeBob was having way too much fun to even notice. He was having
One man treasure, that man treasure.
so much fun, in fact, that Squidward even felt a little envious, a feeling which he took back instantly. After all, why would he want to play with a silly piece of paper? He went back inside and tried to enjoy himself again, forgetting all about the paper. But this time, when he heard SpongeBob laugh again, he didn't look annoyed. He looked sad. This sadness kept recurring every time he heard SpongeBob laugh. Finally, he decided he was going to have more fun than SpongeBob, to prove to him that the paper was not fun. But in reality, he was really only trying to prove it to himself. And he really did try, but SpongeBob just seemed happier, probably because he was. After a couple of failed attempts, Squidward broke. He instantly demanded his paper back. But there was a small problem. SpongeBob had promised Squidward he wouldn't give it back, and SpongeBob wouldn't break a promise. So Squidward thought for a second and decided he was going to get the paper back by bartering, hoping to eventually convince SpongeBob. Squidward started offering item after item, eventually also giving up his house, but SpongeBob couldn't accept. Until finally, Squidward had even given him his shirt, trading everything he owned for what he once called garbage. SpongeBob accepted. He didn't even want the other stuff. He only wanted Squidward's shirt. But Squidward didn't care. He let him keep everything because he finally had the paper. Only there was now a problem. When Squidward returned to what was left of his home, he tried playing, but something was different from when SpongeBob played with it. It wasn't fun for him. And as Squidward looked over at everything he gave up for the paper, he realized what he had just done. He gave up everything for what he once again believed was a piece of garbage. What this episode is getting at is quite literally, one man's trash is another man's treasure. But there's
What I
another
said.
element here. You see, the paper was neither trash nor treasure. The trash, metaphorically speaking, is Squidward's mentality, and the treasure was SpongeBob's. SpongeBob didn't see a simple paper. SpongeBob is so simple that even a paper was hours of entertainment for him.
You know what? Oh, let me
Looking
see.
at Squidward, he couldn't enjoy himself doing all the activities he considered fun, which was why it was no surprise when he later didn't have fun with the paper either. What this episode is really about is how a simple shift in perspective is all it takes to go from this to this. And it's really up to us to make that shift. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and
You know what also was telling you and showing you in that episode specifically? How your imaginative mind can do a lot. How once you throw away that imaginary self, the mindset that you have, once you throw that away, it's gone. And you will see everyone else do something that you want to do something that you had and you just throw it away, and someone else doing the same thing like, bro, what the freak? I want that, I want that, I want that, I want that, I want that. And you give everything to get it, and it's like, bro, I'm not having fun with it no more. Because now it's not even because the love of the game no more. It's not because how much you want it. And now it's just because you see someone else having fun with it. You see someone else got it. You see everyone have fun with it. Everyone else got it. Now you want it because they got it when you had a chance to have it. You know what I'm saying? So you really got once you have an opportunity, bro. Once you have a mindset, you know what I'm saying, know it, bro, and cherish it, bro. And in these episodes about literally anything, I love how children TV shows would do that, bro. That as a kid, you would not understand any of it or see the deeper reality of it. But when you get older, bro, it's gonna hit you like, whoa. Some movies do the same thing too. That's W though. W2, W2, W.